And do you think if you were born like in the 2000s, like my generation, you would share your work on YouTube or any other social media?
I absolutely would. In fact, I would definitely do YouTube movies.
So, I am a French YouTuber, so my audience is quite new to the whole cinema industry, and they still need to learn about the basics in the movie industry. And some of them already love cinema, but I really and truly don't want cinema to die because of social media, even though I work on social media.
Yeah, it's not going to.
It's not going to.
No.
That's why I'm very excited and honored to do this with you. And you seem like to be the most fun person to talk to, so love it.
I mean, I'll tell you something. I love YouTube too, and I love TikTok, and I love social media. I love all that. That's engagement. But the one thing that doesn't ever go away is an inherent need in people to go as strangers into a dark room and watch a story play out where they don't feel lonely.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing is that, I mean, you can not feel lonely to a degree on social media, but there comes a point in which you're actually not viscerally in the room laughing all at the same time.
That's true. Yeah, it's a very lonely experience, social media.
It can be lonely. And in fact, I mean, there's great things about it. I'm never going to knock it because I think it's kind of wildly connective. But also it can isolate you more than you realize.
And do you think if you were born like in the 2000s, like my generation, you would share your work on YouTube or any other social media?
I absolutely would. In fact, I would definitely do YouTube movies. And look, you know, Francis Ford Coppola, and I've got some great young friend, Omar Fedi, he's a producer.
Yeah.
And in fact, his girlfriend is a very well-known YouTuber, I think. You know, she's just very well-known on social media. But they didn't know The Godfather, and that's cool because they're born recently. They knew of The Godfather, but Francis was a huge director in my life.
Yeah.
And he said one day, some kid with a video camera, he thought then, didn't think that it would be on a phone, will be able to make a movie without all of this. He didn't realize you'd be able to make a movie on a phone, right? So I think it's just in the end a delivery platform. I think it's awesome. I would, of course, do that.
And what I think is awesome is that your movies are quite long. It's a 2-hour. Elvis was 2 hours and 40 minutes.
2:30. And there's 10 minutes of credits. But watch your credits because there's lots of musical Easter eggs about people being artists influenced by Elvis, starting with Eminem and ending with a surprise.
Chic. But you know what? Because of social media, it's hard to get concentrated more than 50 seconds.
Yeah, it's true.
So being in a movie theater for this long was a whole different experience. And that's why I think that social media, like YouTube platforms and the cinema can work together because it's not the same. It's
not the same. Do you know what? It's like food. Sometimes you just want to go out and you want to get a McDonald's or something, and there's just good fast food and bad fast food, right? But sometimes you actually want to have a big, long meal. You know, maybe drink some wine or whatever,
some
and be with friends.
This
is a banquet of a movie, right? And sometimes you have a fast food movie, and they're both relevant. There's just good fast food and bad fast food, and good banquets and bad banquets.
What I do mostly on social media is talk about fashion. It's the thing I love, and we have to address one thing. Yeah. It's the belt you were wearing on the carpet. Yeah. It's so fun because if you don't know, guys, when you are at Cannes Film Festival, everyone sits in the room, and then we see on the big screen the team of the movie walking the stairs. So the only thing everyone was talking about in the room was the belt. Can you tell me who designed the belt? How this came to life?
First of all, the credits at the end of the film is that belt.
Yeah.
Right. So I thought I better get it made. And Jimmy Moad from the Moad family, the high-end jewelers, I said, do you think we could make this belt? You know, they ethically sourced diamonds and some rubies, black diamonds and gold. And in fact, it's incredibly intricate. It's in the poster behind you, the belt. It's a symbol of it. And his craftspeople and Jimmy and I worked, and we built the belt. And I thought, I'm going to wear the graphics on there because it was a bit of a theatrical gesture, but also a magical gesture because I wanted a symbol, a talisman, something special as we go through this journey of inviting people to not be scared and get out. Like COVID's over, or COVID is not over. But you know what? We've got to get over fear now. We've got to commune again. I mean, this is amazing. And I've been to Cannes 4 times. I started here when I was 29. And the energy on the streets for movies, the hunger for strangers to get into a movie house and just experience emotion.
You were talking about Talisman, and the first picture of the movie is this big Warner Bros. Logo, but made it by you. So the first thing you see in the movie is like gels, diamond, talisman, stones. So you know you're in for a treat if you love fashion, because the first thing was a whole design incredibly made.
You know what we call that? We call that the Elvis decorative aesthetic. It's a language that I made up with CM. I work with CM, my wife. She's got a few Oscars. You know, but I start with like references and collage, old-fashioned collage actually, you know. And then she's a genius at turning it into, my stuff's incomprehensible, but I know what it means. And she's brilliant at just turning it into my stuff. Yeah.
And what's very interesting with your aesthetic, not the Elvis one, but yours, is that you always work very closely into the costumes.
Yes,
and the story, the period of time. How did you work on that for the Elvis movie?
Well, a lot of it we were handed. I mean, I lived in the South, and I was in Memphis lots of times. And I even had a space at Gracelands, which is Elvis's house. And Angie there in archives is brilliant, and they have a lot of archives. And when you go there now, they have all of his costumes built in a wall. But we were able to we were handed a lot of real costumes that we copied meticulously, and sometimes working with the companies that made them. So that was the reality part. Then the next thing is, well, what was he wearing when there was no records of what he was wearing? And that was interpretive. And Sam, we talked about it a lot. We wanted to, you know, Elvis's style, I'm talking about his style. I mean, it was kind of fluid before fluid. You know, you think of Harry Styles, very Elvis. You know, nail polish and a boa and leather pants. That's Mick Jagger too. But Elvis was the first one to have really masculine trouser, but with a knit tied up. I mean, he would with bolero jackets and, you know, and you know, makeup, and dyed his hair black. He didn't have black hair.
Really?
Yes, he was kind of blonde.
That says a lot
because
about
it looked more striking, you know. He was really into look. He wore pancake on his pimples, and he was into, you know, and it's a style, and that visual at the beginning is us interpreting it now.
Yeah.
And you can interpret it now. I love shoots where, you know, a woman dresses up with a big, heavy, shoulder-padded pink coat and high Elvis coiffed hair, you know, and then maybe, you know, flares. And also I think you mix and match 70s Elvis. I mean, these trousers are actually a copy of Elvis's 70s trousers, but you could wear it with a 50s top, you know. You don't have to be...
I love that you made Elvis, like the styles of Elvis, much more elevated than what we think today, because it's been quite a long time. I got married in Vegas to a fake Elvis. So, you know, when you see the costume, you don't really think of the meaning of it and the thought behind it.
Yeah, look. By the way, this watch is a very rare one. It's called a Midas Rolex. And Elvis had one, and there's only so many in the series. And this actually is the stunt version of the Elvis Presley ring, and he's got lots of bling. So I'm going to do a range and stuff like that. But the thing is, he became, for younger generation, he's just either in Lilo and Stitch, or he's the guy at the wedding chapel in the white suit. He's kind of funny. But when you peel away, you have Elvis the Rebel. I mean, when he was born in one of the few, he lived at a time in one of the few white houses during segregation in the black community, just like Eminem. That's why Eminem's in the credits, because Eminem had this sort of Elvis relationship.
That's true.
And he grew up in this black community. He was one of the few white faces on Beale Street. He had black musical friends. This was dangerous. People wanted to kill him for that.
Yeah.
There was a phrase, which is a real slur, you know, which has white, the word white in it, and that's the way it was seen. And so he was a rebel, and he was young. I mean, he was, you know about YouTubing and you can be famous overnight?
Yeah.
There was teenagers were new. They suddenly had money. So Elvis was the first ever overnight global teenage idol. Just overnight.
Before Justin Timberlake.
Right. He was before Justin Bieber. I mean, he was wealthy and famous within 2 years. He was driving a truck one day, and
the pink Cadillac.
Yeah, And he had several Cadillacs.
Tons of Cadillacs.
10, yeah.
Millions of Cadillacs.
A rocket ship.
A rocket ship, yeah.
Or maybe not a rocket ship. No, don't let me fly.
Okay.
We'll do one more quick one.
How does it feel when everyone claps for, I would say, half an hour? As soon as we had the black screen, everyone were up and we all applaud, and you seem very emotional. Can I ask you what happens in your head when you live this?
Well, I was emotional.
Yeah, we were emotional, so I cannot even imagine how emotional you were.
Look, I was so emotional because I feel the weight of two things. All those actors that gave so much, that we got through COVID making it. And most importantly, it was when the audience actually applauded in the middle of the movie at the musical numbers.
Yeah.
Because I'm making a movie that's for the theatre. And my mission is to try and get people back into the theatre.
I'll do my best to bring my audience to the theatre to see Elvis and every other movies. Thank you for that. Thank you.
Merci.
Merci.